This video shows how to load supplies into the i7500 printer standard configuration model using smart i7 series rolls. If you are using manual rolls or are using the Peel configuration printer, consult a different video for instructions online at the Brady website. So when it comes time to remove all the used up ribbon on the take-up spindle, it's really easy to do. All you do is open the print head, cut your ribbon so it's loose, depress this little yellow button, and it comes right off. If you have any further questions or encounter any issues during this process, as always, call your local Brady technical support team.